Welcome to the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. Will he be taking it out from the start? Fast start from him, definitely going up into second position from the start, but very quickly. Riders in the first, second and third categories coming up with SS, Mr. X100, all in the mix in that leading group. It's Mr. X100 on the front now. He closed that gap back down, but we're seeing Jones pushing up and Ace pushing up here. Everybody wants to be at the front of this race. 41.2k covered, 45k total race distance here on MyWhoosh. We're coming up to an hour's racing, and this is about making sure you get this timing right. For Justin, I've just seen at 10 watts per kilo. He's continuing to push. This is the run for the line. It's really tricky. We're going to come up. We hit another tunnel, but Justin leading this out now. We've seen riders run clear to the finish from the entrance to the tunnel. Jones has gone with him. The nearest rider is Mr. X100, who's being mobbed here. Saeed Safrazad has had comeback of the year, I think, on the way through. He's made his way back up into the mix here, and they're all back together again. It's going to come down to these last 200 meters. It's going to be very, very fast on the way in. This is going to be almost a sprint finish. They drop down. Now comes the kick. The gantry's at the top of this climb. Who's going to get it so tight? Coming through, Mr. X100 takes the win, I think, as he came through. Saeed Safrazad. So hello and welcome to the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. It's a qualifier race 3 here on the MyWhoosh YouTube channel. We're heading in towards the second half, in towards the back end, in fact, of August. And as you just seen, a frantically fast finish at the end of the racing with lots of people in contention. My name's Matt Payne. I'm going to be putting words to all of our men's race action. I'm joined by Emma Martin, who's here today. Emma, welcome. Do you want to take us through the course?
Yes, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. We have a really interesting course for you today. So today's men's race will take place over 44.4 kilometres with an elevation lower than normal of 550 metres. As you can see, though, it is going to be a really interesting course today. We have 5 laps of 110 metres of climbing per lap with a lap distance of 8.9 kilometres. So 5 laps with 4 climbs per lap equals 20 short, sharp climbs in this race today.
Ouch. 20 climbs on the way through. That is going to be very interesting. But they are all quite little climbs. They're my kind of climb.
They are all short, sharp, punchy climbs. So we are going to see climbs today from 400 to 800 metres in length. And the steepest climb today is got an average gradient of 4.1%. So not long, not steep, but they keep coming. And at that final climb, the 20th one, from the top of that climb, it's 2.1k to the finish.
It is, but it does rise slightly into the finish, which is, I think, going to be quite testing at the end of that. So 20 full-on climbs on the way through, as Emma says. 44.4k, important distance to note. Teams today, some amazing teams including the UAE Clan team. The UAE Clan team have been the team to beat. They won last week. We've got the Yorkshire Pudding Express third last week. A Belgian Waffle squad, well, they were second last week. The Pavlova squad, they've been flying. Jones and Vink third and fourth in the races last time out. And the team that were fourth last time at the next PB Insured team in the mix as well. UAE Clan team have been the team to beat, Emma, but the rest are very aggressive riders, very aggressive racing from them, trying to beat that Clan team.
Yes, there is. And 42 riders in the Category 1 race today. So not just the teams, we've also got individual riders in there as well. But you are right, it's highly competitive and we keep seeing different courses suit different riders, and it's going to be really interesting today to see what teams come out on top.
I think it is, and those individuals have a much bigger chance, I think, today in Category 1 at the very pointy end of the race, quite simply because of that profile. It is going to suit riders who can stay in. They're not going to have to hold the same power for as long because you're going to go over those roller coaster sections of the course, and that is going to make a big, big difference. I think the UAE clan team today, well, they had Mr. X100 taking that win last week. Will they be able to repeat that this time around? We've seen some strength in depth. And one of the interesting moves, the Belgian Waffle squad reinforcing their squad with the team, with Lionel Vujassin, who's moved across the teams and quite a lot of team movement. Now, into Category 2, this is a step down. The Falcons team, number 1, Category 2 rider in Hassan Al Ramethri for the UAE Falcons, the man who's taken top spot. Someone we always know is going to be in there. Great comeback from him. Brilliant to watch him racing last week. We've got the Climbers squad in there. They were the second team last time round, Team Italy B. They were our winning team last time. You've got to say, Magdo Caligula, Avedo, and Moreno, very, very quick indeed. Don't discount the DS team as well. They were fourth last time round, but they've got now Joaquin Sola in there as well. And of course, Hubbard's with Aka Krasnik and Cross, the team who were third last time out. Adding to that, you've got individuals like Primero, Mendes, Gavin, Decker, who are normally in teams. They know how to ride, how to get in and mix it up. You know, they normally reference Zone 1, Royal Riders, as well as Rasic Racing. But you've got to remember, these guys, they're not in the team, don't have enough people to qualify this time around, plus a whole host of individuals. A lot of riders, Emma.
There are 47 riders today in our Category 2, should I say, race on the start line today. 23 individual riders, so a lot of individual riders joining those teams today. And whilst we've got those 5 teams up front, there are indeed 8 teams on Category 2.
Indeed. And of course, Category 3 cannot be discounted. Dago Reality Investing Colombia team, the team with the win last time. 5 riders in again. All 5 riders finishing last time. Strikers, Warriors, Team Italy, CM team, all very strong, with Renegades in the mix as well, who were second last time around. It is a real battle, isn't it? And there's a lot of riders, as we must be almost ready to head to our start line.
Yeah, so 45 riders in the Category 3 race. So all of our categories today really packed with riders. 134 riders in total on the start sheets today.
And indeed, we're down on the start line with 10 seconds to go. The riders getting primed, ready to go. Remember, a huge race field here today. A very rolling course with lots of climbs. 20 climbs today, as Emma has said. Let's see who's going to take this out. We can already see from the start, this is a massive pack, and it's straight into the climbing to go. They're straight onto a 4% climb from the gun. And this means it's key to get that kick straight off, straight away. Interesting to see some real differences in revs here. I mean, Sebastian Wolf, he knows what he's doing. He's a regular coach, of course. He is currently at 65 revs, just making his way up through that group. But you can see the front of the bunch is already hammering along here. And, of course, the course here in Bahrain, a real mixture of terrain. And I think that's going to be telling today. But look at the speed it's gone out from the gun here. We're not talking massive kilometers per hour. We're talking 30 to 38k. But what we are talking about is big numbers. Look at those watts.
Yeah, and this start today with the first climb coming at 0.0k. You come out of the gun today, out of the banner, and you are straight on the first climb. And you can see what that has done to this group. And actually getting a good start is absolutely the number one imperative on this course today.
And it's very different from last week's racing. Don't forget, if you haven't watched it, make sure you go back and watch it on the MyWhoosh YouTube channel. If you subscribe, of course, you get notified every time we go live on that YouTube channel, not just with the racing, but all of the videos and updates as well. Now, interesting to see that we've got Yusuf Mirza in here. Yusuf, of course, a pro for the UAE pro team in, and a rider who racing for the UAE clan team is a very handy man to have on board. Interesting though, a bit further back, there is some really interesting stuff just being a distance. Let's see who is going to take this out, who will take away the win. We've got a number of K to get there. Remember, it's 44.4 at the finish. We're coming up to 1.4, and already Ollie Jones right in the mix up at the front. And the mix of riders in the very front group compared to those riders who've been distanced, very, very telling. Interesting, Yusuf Badu at the moment on the right of your screen being distanced as the front of the race again kicking up here. I mean, we're at 1.6k, and already the damage is being done here. We're on to what is effectively our second climb This is the second big climb on the way through. I don't remember even the dip in the valley. It's come so fast.
Yeah, and these climbs are going to come thick and fast today. And you can see we are now up at over 6%. So they have gone up, they've come down, and they are going up again. And it is playing real havoc with this group at the front.
And interestingly, I would have put money on this being really good for the other riders to stay in with it. But we're already seeing Category 1 riders dominating the front of the bunch. And it may well just be that increased level of fitness and strength of our top flight riders is enough to be able to keep them forward, to ease and to kick again. And that may well be the difference, because it is a very, very hard thing to be able to kick and kick again without a lot of recovery. We're watching Mr. X100 at the moment, and he's just in danger, I think, of being distanced from this group, but he knows his course inside out. We know he's been out and training on here. Will he be able to make this count? He's got to get back up in touch with this leading group. Here he comes. He's going to be on the wheel of Juan Hoyas. Hoyas, another of our regular riders riding for that Belgian Waffle squad today, with Van der Niekamp, Van Est, and the new rider before them, Vujassin. Vujassin, of course, regularly up at the top in those standings. And I think this is telling for next week, of course, which is the finale of the month. And you've got those team prizes. So I think there's some strengthening the squads coming in. And interestingly here, Yusuf Mirza and Pablo Popovic, along with SS, 3 of those riders in the squad distanced from the bunch. So the UAE squad at the moment just having to fight their way back in. And I think they maybe just been caught a little bit napping here.
Yeah, and I think this is going to be really telling today. So we're going to see who uses what techniques here in this course today. So these riders in the category 1 are more than capable of 8-9 watts per kilo going up these climbs. Anybody getting distanced, as we can see there with Popovic, utilizing the downhill and flat sections to catch back on is actually going to be a really strong technique today to close that gap, on the expectation that the leaders are going to take the downhills as a recovery before the next climb comes again.
Indeed, and I don't think that is a bad point at all. I think that we are going to really see a real interesting way of riding here. I think this recovery, this period where you can actually just rest on the bike, they're not that long. We're talking about 4 big climbs coming in the space of 9K. We're currently at 3.7K. So we're currently just on the dip. You can just see with the side of the shoreline just to the left of our riders here. But you can see the next big bridge line coming up and through. And here in Bahrain, the riders are making the way through downtown, a very different environment. And that feel of the buildings coming fast, that perception of speed definitely changes. Now, looking at this big group coming through, interesting, we've got Vujassin in here, Cutler, Knudsen, Popovic, Bjorklund in here. That team, as said, the Swedish team will be looking to move up through those standings. So a 15 last time round. They have the talent to get right up in the mix. But at 4.1K, we're now on to the next rise. And you can see that bridge in front. And this climbs, I think it's 24 meters, isn't it, Emma?
It is. So 24 metres of climbing to be done over 800 metres in length, with an average gradient this time round of 3%. So not as steep as the last one. I say that, but currently the riders are at just over 5%.
And it's suiting, I think, the aggressive racing style of the Yorkshire Pudding Express. People like Michael Fink in there, people like Tim Cutler, who we know are just going to go on the attack again and again and again. They're going to try and break this race up. And I think this is going to help them. And it may well be that those riders who prefer a steadier build-up with a climb at the finish, like we have seen, are going to be really on the back foot in this qualifying number 3. And remember, massive race field here today across all of our categories, because you need 2 verified, 2 official results to go into our final, which is next week. So we're about to reach the end of this climb. We're currently at 4.8K. Remember, once we level off at the top here, we then drop back down again. It's a steep descent here. So being in that group is absolutely imperative. Carrying the pace onto the top, dropping down off it. If you're not on the back, as the riders speed up, those gaps will increase. You will get dropped out of the draft and you're going to be in trouble. So big group of riders, 1 or 2 first category riders just distanced off the back of this group. But you can see the pace of the racing at the moment. I tell you something, It's done a lot of damage behind. There's a lot of riders all over the road.
Yeah, I'm counting 14 riders in that lead group. And you're right, Matt, there's no hiding today. There's no sitting and taking the draft and then pushing on the final climb like we saw on last week's racing. In fact, the elevation over today's course is nearly the same as last week's final climb. 475 metres in that final climb last week and 550 metres in this entire course today. So up, down, 20 short climbs today. It isn't going to suit a rider who is happy to sit at a constant watts per kilo for 10 minutes on a climb.
Well, that is going to be really interesting to see who then comes to the front. Ollie Jones, one of those riders who we know that normally we wouldn't see. You wouldn't see him up at the front. He wouldn't be aggressive. He wouldn't be attacking. He'd be letting his teammates do that. And then on that final climb, he would go. So at the moment, the riders are now hitting 6 kilometre mark. This is going on to climb number 3. Climb number 3, Emma, what have we got in store?
So, yeah, indeed. So climb number 3 today, we are at 6K. We are moving at just 3% today as we come on to that. So not too much of a gradient. At the top of this climb, we don't have long to the run into the finish and the end of the first lap. So once we get to the top of this climb, we are 2.1K to the start of the second lap.
And Michael Vink again on the front, putting the pressure on. Saw 8.8 watts per kilo from him. A little bit further back in with Althib, as you can just see Raka just trying to push on at the moment. And just see this group just feeling the pressure. Popovic and Bjarhead are going to make contact here behind the leading second category riders are chasing behind, but they're at 43 seconds as we come to the end of lap number 1. Remember, these riders are continuous push at 6.6. They're going to drop down and then they're going to ride in towards the end of the lap. And Vink here at 8.4 watts per kilo is not letting these riders get the slightest bit of rest. He's attacking time and time again. Interestingly, that Phil Graves went with him that time. So Graves, they're going with Vink. Graves on the Yorkshire Pudding Express. Michael Vink going in the Pavlova squad and pushing on at the front. And look at this, we've got Ferry up there, we've got Vujasin, we've got Knudsen, Graves, Cutler. Who don't we have right up, mixing it up at the very front? We don't have the squad from the UAE clan team. I think they may well be thinking, we're just going to play it steady, let everybody burn off all this real quick early start, and then we're going to go after them and see what we can do later on. So 7.4K covered now, 10 minutes of racing. They're absolutely blasting along here. It is very, very quick, despite this roller coaster style start. It is definitely suiting the first category riders. They're able to produce the power, and they are leaving behind rider after rider. We have chasers behind the group, but they can't get in touch. Vink at the moment in 15th place. Popovic or Althib 4 seconds back. That is very big gap at this stage in the racing as we come up towards the end of this little bit of the climb at 7.7K. I'm going to drop down slight bumps, and then remember, lap total 8.9 kilometers. So at the moment, it's all just paused off. Look at that, 2.9 watts per kilo, 3 watts per kilo. They've eased right off here. The pace has come off. Everybody just taking a breather as they come over the top of the climb and into this descent. I can't imagine it's going to last long, Emma.
Well, I don't know. There's got to be some opportunity and need for some opportunity to recover on this course, and I think we've just found it because Vink's heart rate is dropping like a stone. It's gone from 155 to 139 in about 15 seconds. So showing how fit and able to recover Vink is, but also highlighting some clever thinking around where to push on and where to take a recovery.
And look at this, he's just done that already. He's gone very, very quickly. Put on the moment, his heart rate had dropped down. He's kicked again. And look at Vink, 166 already. It's rocketing upwards here. He's put the pressure on. Graves goes with him this time round. So it's Vink, Graves, Ferry pushing on. Cutler, Althib, Knudsen, SS further back. And once again, they keep on pushing. We are at 8.6K. Remember, this lap finishes at 8.9, but they are now on to the start of the start climb. So this is the run into the finish when we get to the end of lap number 5. As we come into the end of this lap, you can see the banner is in front. They're going to have 4 laps to go as we hit the banner. And no sooner than said, there it is up on our screens for us to see. So 4 laps to go. And that is going to be a tricky finish because you don't see that banner very quickly at all.
No, you don't. And you are just coming onto the base of that climb. So thinking about it, you've run in from that last climb, that 2.1k to the finish. You come downhill, you've got a slight rise, you've got another downhill and slightly flat. And then you kick before you see that finish banner. So it is going to be a really interesting race finish today. And I don't think in the final lap we're going to see them use that segment for a recovery mat.
Definitely not. And at the moment, there's no recovery going on. Again, we see another push at 6, 7, 8 watts per kilo coming from our riders. Watching this screen, watching this racing, you can just see just how accurate the platform is as the climb goes up, as the gradient increases. The riders' turbo trainers basically put the brakes on, making life much harder. It's very, very accurate. And it's great to see so many people jumping onto the MyWhoosh platform and coming on and join us, not just on the Sunday Race Club, but on things like Tune Up Tuesday, where we see Phil Gray's regularly in action as well. And of course, we also see riders out on all the roads. And there's lots of opportunities to ride, isn't there, Emma?
There is indeed. There are a lot of opportunities to ride on MyWhoosh. You can use it for a social ride. You can use it for racing. You can use it for training. You can use it for a workout. All sorts of different activities. And if you've not joined MyWhoosh before and you are watching the racing for the first time, head over to mywhoosh.com, the website. You can download the app and ride for free.
Yep. A totally free app to download. You can get that, of course, on PC, on your Mac. You can also get it on your iPhone or iPad. You can then mirror that up with Apple TV, so you can mirror the screen onto a nice big screen if you want to do so. And, of course, lots of people with lots of different setups and lots of different abilities. And great to see that we're now taking a look back as Hassan Al-Ramethri, last week's winner, a rider who doesn't necessarily always start fast, but always tends to finish faster, has again got work to do here, because Hassan Al-Ramethri has got work. He's got to keep chasing. He's got to keep on pushing, because he needs to close that gap down to the leaders of Cat 2. Meanwhile, on the front of Cat 1, you can see once again we're onto the climb. We are currently kicking out, or our riders are, 6 to 7 watts per kilo. I don't think I can generate that down in the studios here, but you can see this bunch pretty much across the road, a surefire sign that it's not got as quick as it can do. But I think one rider just pinging off the front here, and once again we are seeing an attack on the top of the climb, trying to break this group up. I think if I was them, I wouldn't want to be bringing in a whole big group of people. It's Vujassin who's gone off the front this time around. So Lionel Vujassin, he's come through. Remember, his team has changed. He's gone over to the Belgian Waffle Squad, 6th last time out. He's got a 5th place in qualifying number 4 last month as we were heading through. And that's his best position to date. He's a 5th in qualifying number 4. He was 9th in our final, 9th in qualifying number 1 this month, 6th in qualifying number 2. But will he be able to break inside that top 3? Will he be able to take victory? Well, he certainly looks to be making it aggressive. He's joined by Ferry from that Yorkshire Pudding Express, Mitch Ferry, another rider who regularly is inside that top 10, a long string of top 10s pretty much from the start of the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. And at the moment, a real mix. Just riding in with Mr. X100 at the moment. He's pushing on, and you can just see the UAE clan team, and of course he is the road captain for that, has got Yusuf Mirza. They've enlisted the UAE Emirates rider on board. And I think it's going to be interesting to see what Yusuf Mirza does today. Will he be used as a super domestic, or will he be used as a rider to take victory up at the top, given that Mr. X100 won last time out?
So we are coming up to 12k into this race, Matt, and we still have 15 riders in this lead pack, all Category 1 riders on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club.
We do indeed, and you can just see as the clock ticks on, 16 and a half minutes of racing, 12k covered at the moment. And these riders really are having to push just a little bit further back, just right-hand side of your screen. And we saw our second category riders. That picture still starting to emerge. It's taking longer in Category 2 and Category 3 at the moment to see the change. The big news really in that Category 2 race is that last week's winner has been distanced. That is Hassan Al-Rumethri. He's chasing Giuliano, Primero, and Orrego. Now, that means that he is currently having to chase riders from the Climbers squad. He's also got to chase riders from Team Italy B who have got more bodies of them. But will we see him able to get back in touch? I think it's going to be a real interesting battle this time round.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. And I think I saw Category 2 riders further down the road as well. So I don't think this is the first group on the Category 2 race. I think there's a couple of riders down the road ahead of them as well.
Yeah, I think we've got Giuliano and Primero and Orrego who are in front of Hassan Al-Rumethri. Hassan leading that chasing group of riders, but I think that is Group 2, but we are going to try and dive through the results and get some confirmation of that for you as we go on. Meanwhile, left-hand side of your screen, you can see the pace hotting up again in the Category 1 race. Michael Vick on the attack. You can see this bridge rising up out from the marina here in Bahrain. And now we're in with Moises Balthazar, who's just got a massive pack of riders around him. We're working our way up now. Hassan currently in 37th place overall. He's got company. Julio Orrego is a little bit further up that screen, and I think Hassan Al-Rumethri has got a push to get up to them. That's, I think, is Group 2 that Hassan is in, but it's going to be interesting to watch, see if he can come back. Meanwhile, look at this, 8.2 watts per kilo coming from Vink. Knudsen putting out 8.1. Jones at the moment is having to cover the moves as well, and this is doing a lot of damage further back. It's only 1 or 2 seconds at a time, but look at this group. It's fractured again. The gaps are starting to open. You don't want to be caught on the wrong side of a gap because it means at the moment we have 3 riders clear at the front, chasing pack behind. The gap has opened. That means that nobody in Group 2 is getting a draft off the riders in Group number 1. It's only a matter of a second or so. But Knudsen, Jones, and Cutler are the riders who have gone clear. So Cutler riding for the Yorkshire Pudding Express. Jones, Knudsen, both Pavlova squad riders. Interesting to see that these 3 riders have got that gap, and now as they roll over the top, the distance will increase between them. That will help them in their mission to make the riders behind work hard, and of course it's going to help them in terms of keeping that gap. But watching those numbers, I think they ease right off. You can see left hand side of your screen are race leaders, right hand side the bunch behind. I don't think that bunch is chasing that hard, Emma.
No, but I do think they're going to make the catch, and I think that's coming very quickly. So whilst our 3 riders, Knudsen, Cutler and Graves, pushed on a little bit there, we are now seeing that group come back together as they've gone over the top of that climb and are coming down the descent on the other side.
So Mr. X100 doing the work there, pulling the group back together again, pulling back in his teammate. That is Yusuf Mirza. Mirza, of course, right on the road for the UAE squad. And we are seeing increasing numbers of riders struggling with the pace right up here. And really interesting, this climb, it kicks again. It is a kick after a kick. And SS, the rider in trouble, Pablo Popovic not keeping in touch with this group. Bjarhead not keeping in touch as well. There are a lot of riders here at the moment, I think, who are going to be in big, big trouble if they don't get it back fast.
There are, but SS rolls back into the bunch there and through the bunch indeed. And in fact, the person 1 second off the back of this group at the moment is Mitch Ferry.
And Mitch Ferry, somebody who's really aggressive, yo-yoing his way through that group. Another attack just going off on the front now. And it's Yusuf Mirza who puts the pressure on at 7 watts per kilo. But he eases back a touch here. Ferry goes rolling through. I think Ferry would roll back to give himself some sliding room. And there is a technique in there, isn't there, Emma? As you come into the climb, you hang off. You then use a long draft section through the bunch to almost slingshot your way through, and then continuing onwards. So a bit like using the moon's gravitational field to slingshot your way back to Earth. And if you haven't watched the 2 Minutes to the Moon podcast on the BBC channel, it's well worth doing on BBC Sounds. Gratuitous plug for a great podcast, but it tells you just what you can do when you work together. And the technology on something like a moon landing is nothing as compared to what makes just one of these riders' turbo trainer stick. That's the power difference that we've got. Having that slingshot effect makes these riders go faster. You rock it through like Saturn 5, straight through that bunch, and then you come out the other side. And that is what brings that pace and that power that saw Ferry come through. And he wasn't actually putting big power on, was he, Emma?
No, but it's quite interesting that whilst Matt's comparing the riders snowballing through the group here and using momentum and draft to ensure that they can go from the back of the group to the front of the group as they're using the downhill before the uphill section in some really good riding technique on MyWhoosh to, of course, the gravitational pull of the moon.
Well, it's really key to know how the dynamics play. The physics on the game are critical.
And I think we've got here on the right-hand side of the screen, this is the leading group on the Category 2 race. And you can see here, we've got riders within the top 20 of the race overall, this pack is. And it's a big group again. So I'm counting 3, 6, 9. 9 or 10 Category 2 riders in here. From Krasnik, Gutierrez, Spratt, Heining, Primero, Orego, Wolf. This is a big group with some really strong riders in.
It is indeed, and I think Jefferson Lodano is in there as well, one of our third category riders, just flickering in and out a little bit on our screens. Lodano, one of the two Lodano brothers, riding for the Warrior Men team, second team last time round. He's there or thereabouts. And Jefferson, well, he's got the fastest first category rider on Qualifier 3 in July. He was second in the final as well. He's got a third place in that qualifying month as well, but he only got 15th on qualifying number 1 last time round. So qualifier 2 not getting a top 10 position. So really is showing that he's not right up in the mix.
And I'm looking for Tom Gates, Matt. If you remember, in fact, there he is. I can see him on our screen at the moment on the right-hand side. Cracking ride last week.
And we've got a big attack off the front again. Michael Fink going. So Fink going straight off the front. Here he goes. Another attack from Fink at 7 watts per kilo. So these attacks are coming thick and fast, but nothing is sticking, is it, Emma? There's nothing going and nailing it here on the way through. Gates, one of our aggressive riders last time, I mean, he was off on the front last time, as Emma was saying. He got caught back. Fink is trying to do the same. He can't make it, can he?
No, these riders keep coming back. They push on, they come back, they push on, they come back. And we're seeing that constantly at the moment. So currently we've got Cutler, Vink and Graves with Ferry in 4th. We've got a small gap back to Jones and Thrall and SS, Vujasin, Knudsen, all in that group. And you can start to see it stringing out across the road as they try and close the gap on this climb.
Indeed. So we now have covered 2 out of our 5 laps at the moment. Another attack going from Vink, and look at the damage that's been done this time around. And he's caught, I think, a number of that UAE clan team a little bit further back. Ollie Jones is in almost no man's land in between. Nuzzer's just up the road as well, and it's Mr. X100 who is leading the chase for that UAE clan team. But look at that distance, Emma. This is a big effort now he's having to put in.
So we are currently on climb 9 out of 20 in this race. So we are coming up for halfway through our climbing distance, and we can start to see this group really attacking each other now and really putting the pain and barriers down.
They are indeed, and look at this. We have seen attack after attack. We said that the teams that go on the attack are generally the teams from the Pudding Express, Yorkshire Pudding Express, the Belgian Waffles, the Danish Pavlova squad. We've got them out on the offensive again. And I think this is their general tactic now. The question is, have they managed to distance everybody who is not in their teams? Have they distanced that UAE clan team? If the UAE clan team get together behind as a team, you could see a team time trial. And I mean, we've just seen the start of the Vuelta in well, it would be in Spain, but it's actually Utrecht in Holland, wasn't it? And that team time trial, I mean, the UAE clan team have some very nice Colnago bikes, putting a great performance there. Watch that teamwork. Can the clan team emulate that here today? They're going to need to, because that gap really has opened.
It has, and we're watching Mr. X100 there, now 6 seconds back. Cutler is 4 seconds back. Hoyas, 3 seconds back. So these gaps may sound small, but they are starting to stretch the front of this group out, and riders are starting to drop off.
They are, and we're starting to lap riders in other categories as well, which is always the great thing when you are riding. If you're not having a great day, or you're in a category lower down, you can actually watch the leaders come past. The leaders on our screen, left-hand side of your screen, the chasers, right-hand side of your screen. You can see about 100 meters between them. Mr. X100, Yusuf Mirza, SS, Pablo Popovic, all distance, and it looks like Mr. X100 and Yusuf Mirza are going to need to put in a massive effort here. They're on the climb, but the leaders, they are a little bit further up. You can just see that gap is coming down. But remember, we've got that opening up, that concertina effect of compressing the group on the climb, opening that group up and spreading out as go over the top. And I think Phil Grace, who's a very experienced rider here, is looking to open up the gaps. And I think that's going to be really, really important as we go over the top. Those riders on the very front are going to push on. They're going to try and stretch that gap out. And that makes it even harder for those chasers behind.
It does. And don't forget, the climbing shortens what looks like the distance between the riders. So you'll see less kilometres difference or less meters worth of difference between the riders on the climb. The second this front group go over the top of this climb, which they are literally about to do, as you can start to see that gradient change to a downward gradient on the left-hand side of your screen, the distance becomes greater between them and the riders behind. So touching in with Mr. X100, currently 9 seconds now behind Graves and Cutler, and Vink and Jones in front.
And he doesn't have strength in depth. When we've seen the UAE clan team, they've worked together as a brilliant team together. But I think with two riders, okay, one's Mr. X100, one's Yusuf Mirza, the riders in front, there is a huge number. And I think, Emma, do you know how many's in that front group?
Well, that's an interesting one, isn't it?
Hard to tell.
I'm thinking there must still be about 10 or 12 riders in that front group. But what we really need to see is Mr. X100 and Yusuf Mirza working together on the downhill and flat sections and not coming off the pace as much, and then relying on the fact that the front group are going to sit up a little. And I think that's what's happening at the moment. So we can see 3 to 4.5 watts per kilo coming out from the likes of Knudsen in that front group. But Mr. X100 is still sat at 7 watts per kilo. So he's planning on closing this gap here. And I think possibly is going to do it. That time gap is coming down now. So it's gone from 10 seconds to 6.
But Yusuf Mirza is not glued to his wheel. So saying, now here he comes. He is now glued to his wheel. That's exactly where he needs to be. No sooner said than done. Got to be in that slipstream. You've got to sit in there, and then you have to take it in turns. When you are pushing yourself to the limit, that through and off is critical. Taking turns to maximize the speed. You can see this leading group on your screen at the moment. They're rotating around. They're rolling around. But at the moment, that advantage they had is being negated by this massive chase by Mr. X100 and Yusuf Mirza. So the group broke as we came around to complete lap number 2. Aggressive attack on the front by the Belgian Waffle squad, the Yorkshire Pudding Express, and the Danish Pavlova squad. But now we are seeing the comeback.
Yeah, so we were 15. This leading group was 15. It is now 8. And Mr. X100 and Yusuf Mirza have got them in their sights. They can see that leading group of 8 with added incentive to catch. You can see, I think that catch is going to come very, very quickly. And as I'm speaking, that gap is closing, and Hoyas is at the back of that group, and Mr. X100 and Yusuf Mirza, I think, going to be in this group in not too long a distance.
Yeah, I think that is going to be the case, but they're really having to work for this, because as we've gone on to the climb, we've seen another attack off the front once again. So the very front of the group, 2 riders going clear on the climb. Main part of that group, the body of that group still sat in the middle, in between the 2 leaders and the 2 chasers. So at the moment, this group is fractured at the front. Oh, no prizes for working out who's off on the front. I tell you, it's a good job this isn't an eating ice cream game, because I'd weigh about 200 kilos if it was an ice cream every time Michael Vink went off the front. I'd be absolutely drowning in the stuff, because he's on the attack again. He's not letting them get back on. He's not making it easy. And of course, don't forget, when you come back on a group, you don't always know who is off down the road. One of the big advantages being on MyWhoosh is, of course, a lot of people will have multiple channels running. You can watch it on the YouTube simultaneously. And I know, certainly in your pain cave, Emma, you would have multiple data sources and screens so that you could see if somebody's gone off the front like we've just seen.
I would have the race going on in front of me on my main screen, and then to the side of me, I would have the commentary live with the front of the race or whatever else is going on in the race that the commentator is talking about. So I would be seeing exactly where I was racing on in front of me, but I would have the audio in my ears and the screens in my ears that the commentating feed was delivering, and that way I would be getting the best of both worlds. Because you are indeed correct, Matt, if the group you are riding in has more riders in it then you can see the data in the bottom right hand side of your screen, then actually you're not getting a full picture, and you need the full picture to be able to decide your tactics, to think about what you're doing, and to respond accordingly. And we're seeing Graves and Vinks here responding really well. They are pushing on, and all of that up, down, up, down, up, down effort, going up the climbs, dropping down and recovering, going up and dropping down. Currently at 23.7k, it looks like they might be making a break that's going to stick.
It is starting to look that way, isn't it? I mean, 7, 8 seconds on the road. I can go a long way, particularly downhill, in 7 to 8 seconds here. Vink and Graves are pushing on. So when they go on to the front, we just see Michael Vinks here at 6.1 watts per kilo. Behind, we're not seeing any single rider putting out that kind of watts per kilo. They're taking it in turns at 6 watts per kilo. They're going to come into the climb here at 24k at the moment. Fortunately, Emma's done the maths. This our next climb on its way, Emma.
Yeah, indeed. So this climb started at 23.8, which is why we saw a higher set of watts from Vink and Graves before the pack caught up. So this is climb number 12 out of 20, and Vink and Graves are clear at the moment with a 4-second gap back to Knudsen, Jones, Vujasin, Ferry, Mr. X100. And then we've got a gap back to our next section of riders.
It isn't going to be really telling here. You can see the distance on your screen here on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. The very early attack, that climbing race start, has seen a big group go clear. They were 15 riders. They went down to 10 riders. We've had a constant attacking race with Vink and Graves, the current protagonists, off the front of the group, being chased. They're at about 5 seconds in terms of lead over the chasers, who are on the right-hand side of your screen. We've seen riders detached from that group at slight moments in attention. You can see you distanced off the back, and then you are in trouble. So this is really key. The guys have got to push on. They've got to close that gap down. Graves and co already going out and around the side of that black and white tent. You can just see behind the riders, we're trying to chase back in, and that gap currently 7 seconds, and the chasers are only just coming up to that same point now with that black and white tent. So that's the time gap. It's a lot of distance, and it's a lot of time at the moment. Vink and Graves currently clear at the front of the race.
They are indeed, and we're looking to see the gap here, and I'm thinking it is just over 100 metres in distance, as we are seeing these two riders, Vink and Graves, pull clear of the riders behind, and that pack behind is starting to be led out, and they are trying to stretch that out to bring Vink and Graves back. But all this effort and all this work on a part of the course where in previous laps we've seen it used for recovery, because we know what's coming. There's 2 more laps, and that's 8 more climbs.
And that is definitely a case of ouch, because these climbs, because they keep on coming, because they keep on pushing out, we know that this is going to be really, really difficult for these riders. They really do have to keep on accelerating and then getting dropped back off again.
They do. So we are in on the left-hand side of your screen with Graves and Vink, our 2 leaders in this race. On the right-hand side of your screen, we are in with the chasing pack. We've got Vujasin, Ferry, Mr. X100, Mirza, Hoyas, Knudsen. These riders are closing the gap and trying to close that gap as we move into the finish of the 3rd lap of 5.
So coming into the end of lap number 3 of 5, well over half race distance covered, 26.4k for our two leaders. The chase behind has broken up again, and once again we're seeing Mercer and Mr. X100, Yusuf Mercer and Mr. X100 under pressure here, a little bit further back, and that is potentially telling for later in the race. And you can just see, I think, the catch being made at the front of the group. And it means that our two leaders have now pulled the group back together with them as they come up to the end of the lap and go out on to the race circuit. So they have gone in and through with 2 laps to go. And next time round, it'll be that next screen that we saw. Then 1 lap to go. The last lap. At the moment, I think we are seeing Mr. X100 really having to push. And I think Phil Graves may well have gone through a little hard here. Just Mr. X100 on the tail of Tim Cutler here. But groups all over the place. And one of the things that happens is as you're chasing in the group, if you are catching a lapped group, you've got to be really attentive because the leaders suddenly will get a little bit of draft bonus as they go past that lap group.
They will, and we are now heading into lap 4 of 5, and the front pack are now starting to lap some of the back of this race field. It was a big race field with over 100 riders taking to the start line, and we can start to see how the dynamics of riding through a caught group are going to start challenging this front pack as they race.
They are indeed. It looks like that group has come through pretty much as one. The status quo is back. They group back together again. Graves and Vink potentially just a little bit behind Mr. X100 now. And sometimes the best form of defense is actually to go on the offensive and really push on, hold a really high pace and stop people attacking over the top. But not sure after a chase back like that, that's going to happen.
No, the best way to get past lap riders is to push on fast. The quicker you can get past them, the less traffic they are on the road for you. And we're seeing this whole group coming back together again. So let's remind ourselves, this was 15 riders in the lead group. It dropped to 8, it went to 6, 2 went off the front, and now the catch has been made and this group are coming back together again.
So here on MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club, the racing is coming thick and fast. The action from the gun with that big climb. Remember, we have 3 categories racing on the left of our screen. Our Category 1 race leaders, right-hand side of the screen. This, I think, is going to be our Category 2 leaders. We're just having a double check on the way through. But certainly it looks to me like these are the guys who are leading it out. Tom Gates, that Emma mentioned earlier, right up at the front of this group. He's got Spratt for company as well. But Tom Gates currently leading this out. The question is, will it be Gates once again who can take this all the way into the finish? Or are we going to see him get distanced as they come in and through? Going to be really interesting to watch. Tom Gates second in our last qualifier. That's qualifier number 2, 6th in qualifier number 1. But they have got some very strong riders in that category.
They have indeed. And we are back in with 28.5k travelled over 44.4k. And we are seeing these riders having cleared now 14. This is the 14th climb of this race. And we're in with Ollie Jones and watching Mr. X100 as they are picking up riders at the back of the race field. But this group now are back together again with a small gap at the moment, actually, back to Knudsen and Cutler. So interesting to see how this group are working together and moving on through this race.
It is indeed so. This pack maybe just holding steady. Those watts per kilo up there. I'm glad Emma's doing the counting. My math doesn't go to 14, never mind up to 20. A homework essential when we're racing. And, of course, when we're here commentating on the racing. Don't forget, of course, you can catch up with us live every week on the Sunday Race Club. Myself, Matt Payne, and, of course, Emma Martin. We're here all the way through. Bring you all of the race action and lots of hopefully insights into the racing as well. Don't forget, of course, you can catch up with us on the YouTube channel. It is easiest to go via the MyWhoosh.com website. Of course, you can catch up with us on social media. MyWhoosh on Instagram, MyWhoosh on Facebook, My_Whoosh on Twitter. And of course, you can get a hold of me at Matt Fixer Payne. And Emma, where can we get you on social media?
You can find me at Biking Emma.
And of course, at Full Speed Events, which Emma and I basically keep the show on the road, and the voices talking, and do a lot of the work behind the scenes. The team there working hard with all of our rider databases, keeping them up to date with the volume of racing that we've got on MyWhoosh, and it's great to be on the platform as it continues its journey. And we've got to say, the new world, the new Australian world that has been launched, absolutely brilliant, isn't it? I've been watching some of the action from there. It looks amazing. I'm loving the variety of terrain and the worlds that just keep on being introduced into MyWhoosh. And of course, the expectation is, of course, we're going to be getting a Belgian world, I think, next is after Australia. Is that the plan?
I believe it is, Matt, and it is great to see these new worlds launched. If you are watching the MyWhoosh race channel and you're looking at the Sunday Race Club and thinking, how do I get involved? If you are interested in racing, get yourself onto mywhoosh.com on the website and follow the links for the events page. You need to register 12 hours before an event. And the key piece of advice I would give anybody, take a look at the technical guide, the rule sets and the requirements, and read the frequently asked questions document as well, because that's going to be really worthwhile for you in terms of setting everything up properly and getting on the start line.
Well, just looking at the screen, Emma, and I think we're seeing one of our category, or two of our category one riders being overtaken and lapped here on the way through by the leading group. And that's when it gets really confusing, isn't it? Because two of our category one riders have just been overtaken. And I think with Jacin and Knudsen, Ferry, all to being attentive, they're up near the front. But it is Ferry and Knudsen who've pushed on through. They've not wanted to get caught out by that, because they've come round the side of another group. And that is absolutely critical, why you can't afford to relax for a second when you're racing. It's so absorbing, particularly when you've got this. Now, a lot of the riders, they're not just watching on a monitor or on a little screen or on an iPad. They're actually looking at something that could be 10, 15 feet, 2, 3, 4 meter wide screen that wraps around, or even like the booth that we saw at Eurobike. So the riders at the moment are wrapped up in this race. And Emma, whereabouts are we on our screen at the moment?
So we have our lap map in front of us, and we are currently on climb number 3 in front of you. So 24 meters of climbing over 800 meters with an average gradient of 3%. It's climb number 3 on the course in front of you, but it's climb number 15 for our riders today. So we are coming up to the end of our 4th lap. They have one more climb on this lap before they will descend and then start the climb through the finish banner into the lap 5, the final lap of the race.
Wow, so these riders constantly lapping, in fact, higher than the airplane coming into land down at Bahrain, down at the airport there. And you can just see this group after that initial break. We've seen some speculative attacks. We've seen some riders just try and put the rest of those Category 1 riders in trouble. But it keeps on coming back together again. And the riders, I think, have settled into how to race this. You've got the group that can make it through to the finish all together at the front of the race. And I think it's great that we've got Yusuf Mirza in here. Yusuf, in fact, was co-commentating on our Arabic channel last week. He's out and letting his legs do the talking this time around, right up in that front group, as you'd expect. And don't forget, you can catch up with Yusuf as well as all of our professional riders on the UAE men's squad and the UAE women's squad. They're regularly on MyWhoosh as well as on the YouTube channel.
Yeah, so at 32.2k travelled at the front of this race, we are coming up to the end of lap number 4 with 9 riders in the lead group of our Category 1 race. And on the right-hand side of your screen, I think there's more than 9 riders in the front of our Category 2 race, because that's looking really competitive as well today.
Indeed, lots of riding, lots of racing, no matter what category you're in, whether it's 1, 2, or 3. Don't forget all of the results on mywhoosh.com and click on results. You'll be able to scroll through those with the results at the moment live for this race. They'll then become unofficial, and then that will be confirmed and verified, and that's a part of the process of making sure the racing is fair for everybody before that becomes an official result. When it's an official result, don't forget, of course, qualifying races, top 5 riders in categories 1, 2, and 3, all getting prize money coming out of the race. When we go to our finale at the end of the month, then it's our team prizes as well. And there's some big money. I think it's 50,000 AED for our winning team. And that's a lot of money to be shared out in amongst the team, as well as those individual prizes. And you can see why the riders want to be in that team. They want to be selected. And I think that's why we've seen some of these teams changing and moving about with riders, maybe looking to make sure they're selected. If you're a rider in a big squad, you might not get selected for that final. You might not be a counting rider. Whereas if you're on maybe a different squad, you might be right up there. And you want to be selected for the prize money final because it is when those team prizes are awarded. So here we are. The race is at 33.2k. Emma, we're ticking our way along through this course. Has it gone as you expected so far?
Well, it's really interesting, isn't it, as we're coming up to the end of lap number 4. Has it gone as I've expected? I think we've seen the group move away really quickly, which I think we were expecting today. You know, previously on last time's course, we saw the Category 2 riders stay with Category 1 riders for a longer period of time in a large bunch. We've seen our Category 1 riders whittle that bunch down much quicker today. But surprisingly, we still have 9 riders in that front group. And I think that's more than I was expecting. I think I was expecting these groups to be split a little more. It's telling us actually how good these riders are and how their power of recovery works really well. And we are currently in with Phil Graves at the moment, and we can start to see with 34.1k travels, we're starting on the bit of a rise, and lo and behold, there's an attack coming from Vujjasin.
Well, Vujjasin on the offensive, trying to wind this up. We're seeing Vink Jones Grays in action once again. Who's going to suffer this time around? Well, Yusuf Mirza maybe just winding it up at the back. He's at 8 watts per kilo, 9 watts per kilo now. So just stretching his legs to get back into this group. Will we see him ease off? I think we're seeing that. He's down at 5-6 watts per kilo. He can't afford to relax too much as they come up and through. And it is his team captain on the front, Mr. X100, who is leading the group through. But Mr. X100 then taking the pace off nice and quickly, letting Mirza get back in touch as we come into town. So we're coming towards the end of lap number 4 of 5. Remember, it finishes on the climb. And that gantry comes into sight. And this is their final, this is their dress rehearsal here on the penultimate lap as they come in to the finishing line. This is where they get their last look at that run into the finish before they're doing it at the end of the race for that prize money. And there's a lot of riders to be fighting it out for 5 prizes up there at the front of the race. They all want to qualify. They all want to get those rides in. You need 2 verified rides to qualify for the finals. The riders, a packed field here today, with a lot of riders out on the course trying to make sure they get all of those laps in. But these riders, they come in towards the climb. They're currently just hitting the base of that climb. The gradient starts to kick in, and this is their last run towards the gantry this time around. And you can just see, once again, it's being wound up on the front as we've gone into this climb again. And it's splitting again. We're seeing this time and time again. So as we come in towards the end of lap number 4, we're about to head out on lap number 5, the final lap here on the Sunday Race Club. Here we go. It's 1 lap left to go. 1 lap left to go.
With 1 lap left to go, we have 9 riders in this leading group.
Indeed, and certainly looks at the moment like they are starting to stretch out the gaps at the moment, and this group's starting to accelerate up. It's certainly looking like they are going very, very hard indeed. Who is going to take this out? We're going to see the action as they go out. 1 more lap left, 8.9k per lap. These riders really need to push now. So who's going to take to the front? Well, at the moment, Vujjasin is in there. This has been a trigger point. It's been where the riders go clear. Will they be able to do so? Again, we've seen the UAE clan team repeatedly have to chase on the scene. And will that be the case now, or will they now start to take this out from the front? Emma, we're seeing some really aggressive riding all 4 laps, and the teams have been handing it out to the UAE clan team. Is this time for revenge from that clan team? I mean, they are always up there when we have our team results. I can't actually remember the last time. I'm just looking at our spreadsheet here, and it covers the team results. Certainly, if we look back between May, June, July, and August, there hasn't been a time where the UAE clan team have not been first or second team in all of our qualifiers or finals. That is a huge result, and it's why they really are the most consistent team. Don't get me wrong, teams like Next PB Insured, the Yorkshire Pudding Express, the Belgian Waffles team, the Pavlova team, they can all take wins, but nobody seems to be able to match that UAE clan team consistency. Top two every race, May, June, July, and August. In fact, probably if we look further, it's even more. But there's a limit to how wide my screen is. Otherwise, it'd be wrapped right the way around the studios.
Yeah, and I think, Matt, the team and the squad have strength and depth. They are always making the play, and the competition is really hot at the front of this race. And I'm watching now these 9 riders as they travel 37k of this race. We are coming up now onto this climb, which is climb number 18 of 20. And I'm starting to think about what tactics are these riders, what's going through their heads at the moment about how they win this race. There are 9 of them in this group. We've seen attack after attack after attack. We've seen 2 riders down the road, 3 riders down the road, but the group keep coming back together again. If I was in this group, I'd be sitting here thinking, gosh, what on earth have I got to do to win this now?
Well, one thing they do need to do is keep SS distanced because SS and Juan Hoyos have been sat behind chasing for a long time. It's good to see them in action. I mean, we regularly see them working hard, trying to get up towards the front of the groups. But have to say, it is not the easiest thing to do to bridge it back across. Just taking a little bit of a look at back here, looks like Sender Satori, along with Lodano and Duque in there. Restrepo just up the road. We're just in with him at the moment. And I think our Category 3 riders spread all over the road. Milano here in Category 2. He's in 52nd place, one of our regular riders. And shows you when riders like Milano from the DS team are currently sitting in 54th. It's not been an easy day for anybody at all out there. And at the moment, I think Jonas Bjarhed, the team from S, said really having a hard day. Yusuf Mirza, I don't think having it all his own way, but of course, being professional, he could be anywhere pretty much in his training block, couldn't he? He could be just coming back from a hard session. He could be on an easy day. Could be the team have called him and said, look, we want some strength in depth. We want a little bit more. We want to give some of our riders a rest, but we want to be up there. We want to defend that team. And we need you to do that. So maybe he's just jumped back in to give him a hand. You don't know where everybody is in their training plan. The question is going to be, I think, realistically, who has got the strength today? Because it is, I think, a real strongman's course. It's not, as Emma said, a pure climber's course. This would be my ideal course. Sprint, rest, sprint, rest, sprint, rest. You wouldn't see me on the front anywhere except for when I was on the attack, because that, I think, is how you're going to be able to take this away and take the win. We've seen Vajassin do it. We've seen Vink do it. This last lap's going to be critical. Emma, who's your money on? Come on.
I think these last 2 climbs are going to be critical. And I think we're going to see an attack as we start now to come up at 38.6k. It's not long now till we hit climb number 19, with climb number 20 not coming far off. So I think this climb is where we should see all the action, because you've got one big push, you're over the top, you're down the other side. You've got another big push, you get to the top of the climb and you've got 2.1k to the finish. So if someone's going to make an attack, Matt, I think it's this climb coming.
And one man who's not going to be able to do that straight away is Yusuf Mirza. We're seeing him off the back here, Emma. He's a rider, he's 9th place, he's 8th in that leading group. That's not good news, is it? He's either done enough, he's done all he can, or he has just not been able to keep on going. It may well be that he's on the clock to ride an hour's worth of riding and get that ride in. So he's done his 55 minutes of really hard riding and then has now eased back off again. But I think this is very telling, and it leaves Mr. X100 a little on his own up there for the UAE clan team. He's more a team of one at the moment in that leading bunch. That's not something we normally see. So this course definitely suiting the rest of those riders. We're coming into our next climb. Come on, Emma. Who's your money on? Who are you going to put your money on for the win here today?
Well, I don't know about putting my money on for the win, but if we don't see Vink go off the front in the next 500 meters, I'm going to be amazed. And it's interesting, isn't it? You talk about Yusuf Mirza there on the right-hand side of your screen. We don't know what team tactics are today, and team tactics on a course like this are very different often to team tactics on a course that's rolling with one big climb at the end. But we're moving back now, coming up to 39.8k travelled on a 44.4k course. This group are now on climb 19 of 20 as the gradient kicks to just under 6%.
And we're coming up on lap riders on this climb, and that is going to break it up as well. It's going to make it even harder to watch everything that's going on if you're not attentive, if you're not paying attention. And we're starting to see the numbers go up. 6.2 from Mitch Ferry at the moment, 7.1. He's wound it up on the front. Ferry's out of the saddle and kicking hard. A gradient of 3.2%. Look at him, he just rocketed up the gutter there. And it's a bit like he's on the Flandrian Classic here at the moment. He's gone to the gutter to get the smooth tarmac behind. Mr. X100 has answered this. He's going to be trying to chase the gap down here, I think. And Vijacin looking good as well. He's right in this mix. Knudsen in the mix as well. Everybody trying to place themselves right at the front of this race. The question will be who is going to take away a victory as they come in and through. Remember, we had 8 riders in contention. Mr. X100, Michael Knudsen, Michael Vink, Lionel Vijacin, Ollie Jones, Mitch Ferry, Tim Cutler, and Phil Graves. At the moment, I think Graves, the rider most in trouble when we hit those climbs. Vijacin is looking strong. And I think that today could be his day.
I think you say Vijacin is looking strong. Look at that, 1.2 watts per kilo over the top. And these riders really are now putting the effort in on the climb and really sucking up some recovery on this descent this time round.
Well, that is key, isn't it? And if you've gone into that lactic acid debt, you're going to need every little bit of recovery you can have. We're going to see who can recover. Our next climb comes pretty quickly, doesn't it, Emma?
It does indeed. We're not going to see long before this descent turns into an ascent in these riders on the left-hand side. On the right-hand side, we're back in with Mirza. Mirza currently 10th rider on the road. But looking at this now, over 1.2k down on our leading group.
Indeed, and just getting past there by Bjarhead and Co. So that is going to be game over, I think, for him now. So we're just taking a look down at this. We're watching Mitch Ferry on the left-hand side of your screen. They're at 41.5k. Remember, today's 44.4k, not the standard 45k distance, because we are on laps of Bahrain. And time is running out to put a decisive attack in. The riders on the left-hand side of your screen, your race leaders, Yusuf Mirza, being distanced by our leaders. He's been passed by a couple of the riders who were lapped earlier on. I think it's game over for him. The race is now up at the front here with Mr. X100, with Michael Knudsen, Lionel Vijacin, Mitch Ferry, Ollie Jones, Michael Vink, Tim Cutler, Phil Graves. A little bit further back, I think, here. Cutler and Graves about 6 to 7 seconds back. But let's see how that pans out as this race continues upwards. Vijacin on the front at 7.5 watts per kilo. He's winding it up here. Can Vijacin, the rider on that yellow MyWhoosh bike with the white helmet and the red bit just kicking on there in those black socks. He's at the front. But look at the move now. Mr. X100, black helmet on, blue socks, keeps on going. He pushes over the top this time round, and he's going now at 6.7 watts per kilo. We know these riders are capable of double digits, are capable of going up over 10 watts per kilo, but they're going to be saving that. They know that having a sprint at the end is going to be key, but look at this run over the top. We're onto the descent.
We are indeed. We are onto the descent now with over 3.6% descent at the moment, and the pace is picking up at 66 kph and climbing higher. And I think this group now, Matt, are going to go into a sprint finish.
Excellent. This is what we want to see. These riders are giving us absolutely everything in their final run to the finish. Less than 2k to go. Less than 2,000 meters left in the race here today. Because remember, finishing at 44.4, this is where the riders have to stay attentive. It's very easy to default back to your 45k race distance, because when you're on the limit, when you're looking through a thumb hole and there's pain and blackness around you, you know that you've got to be responding to everything. And Vijacin, I think, we're putting in big numbers here.
We do. So a quick run through. We've got Mr. X100, Vijacin, Knudsen, Vink, Jones, Ferry, Graves and Cutler in this top group now.
And this is going to come down to who can take this out at the front of the race in these final kilometers. Remember, when we hit 43.4, you're at that key marker, kilo, 1,000 meters to the finish, a distance that is virtually a sprint on a velodrome. Slightly different here today because we have that kicker at the finish. Although the height gain is not huge, it's almost like riding up the bank of the velodrome, to be fair. The riders are now 43.5. They're not putting a massive kick. We've seen numbers 1.3, 1.4. They're almost finessing.
Talking about a velodrome, I think they're sitting up looking at each other at the moment.
Well, this is it. Here we go. We're coming in. We remember we have got 500 meters to go when it hits 43.9. We're not far off. The windup has begun. We're starting to see big numbers. Mr. X100 in that black helmet comes to the front at 6.4 watts per kilo. He's our race leader. So 6.97 watts per kilo. I think Mr. X100 is going to be leading this out. We're at 43.9, 500 meters to go. We're going to swing round. It's going to climb. The moment it starts climbing, that's when I'll be putting my final kick in. Is Mr. X100 going to make it 2 out of 2? Will he take the win? He won last time, but look at this big kick. The Justin has just gone at 16 watts per kilo. 16 watts per kilo for the Justin as he brought that dig in. He's got a gap, but Ferry is coming. But look at the Justin's numbers here. The response is coming. We said they get double digits. It's win number 1 here for Lionel Vajassin, and he just takes it through the line there. I don't know who followed him through there. That was a massive bunch sprint coming through. We're just looking to get those results confirmed. It's shown as Lionel Vajassin with the race win. Mitch Ferry in second, Michael Fink in third, Michael Knudsen in fourth, Phil Graves in fifth, Ollie Jones in sixth, and Tim Cutler in seventh. Remember, these are provisional results and they are not official until verified. What a finish. That was something else again. Really am looking forward to seeing when those results are confirmed. Irrespective of that, Lionel Vajassin, thank you very much for winning my bet. That was my prediction today, and I'm going to revel in that because, do you know what? He's a rider who's improved time and time again. The Belgian Waffle squad taking the win, but look at that team competition. Going to be really tight between the Pavlova and the Yorkshire Pudding Express squad. We still have riders on the way into the line, of course, fighting for position in here. Remember, the prize money going down through the top 5 once those results are confirmed. SS on his way to the line and pushing on here with Juan Hoyos on his wheel. I think he's going to be making his way in towards that finish. And it's going to be a real battle between these two, Juan Hoyos and SSSS, with the pace and power regular rider on the Whoosh's rides. But we're not going to see him up in his usual position. He's rarely out of the top 10. But we do often see him top 5, top 6, top 7. Not the case so far. Just seeing a big push from him now. So it's going to be SSR next finisher. That final kick taking him in ahead of Juan Hoyos. Hoyos chasing hard behind, trying to bring the gap down. Yusuf Mirza is behind him. So Hoyos goes in and through the line. Then it's going to be Mirza. We're going to see who is going to take this out. And cracking ride. Great to see Yusuf Mirza working hard. The UAE clan rider here, of course, a UAE team rider for the Emirati team on the professional scene. And great to see that battle. And, of course, we've still got our Category 2 riders to come into the finish as well.
We do indeed. And this pack is the next pack on the road behind Yusuf Mirza. So Gutierrez in here with Pablo Popovic and Beardshaw from our Category 1. But we've got a pack there of Category 2 riders in that group. So I think, again, we're going to see a sprint for the Category 2 win as well.
And it is the ability to race against people, no matter where you are in the race pecking order, whether you're right at the very top of the tree or you're a little bit further down, that ability to race against people non-stop is brilliant. It does make a difference when it comes to keeping motivated to riding. Now, in the team competition, this is subject to confirmation. The Danish Pavlova squad are going to take top spot. The Yorkshire Pudding Express will take second place. The time gap between them, 6 seconds between their leading riders through the line. And, of course, we were talking about it earlier on. In terms of the team competition, remember the UAE clan team have been the team to beat. The only time they've not been in the top positions, that was in the finals at the end of June. They were fourth place there. They're not going to be top three today, so that has broken a long run. And of course, they took the win last week, not to be today. You can't win every race. There's just not the rider out there. I mean, we might have seen Tom Pidcock, great rider, who on the World Tour Series, rider who's the Olympic mountain bike champion, been a former cross champion. But there's something he's not good at. There's bound to be. It might be knitting, but he's definitely not good at something. You can't win every race, or every competition. And it's the same, even our pro riders. They come on to the MyWhoosh platform. They can put in great performance because it's so like real life. And it's a great performance here from Yusuf Mirza, who's going to come in through the finishing line here today. So Yusuf's going to come through. Going to be a great run as he comes in. And don't forget, of course, all of the results will be subject to verification. So don't forget, you can catch up with those on the MyWhoosh webpage. That's www.mywhoosh.com. Some great racing here today. Emma, you're going to be keeping the women's race covered for us. And I know I'm looking forward to seeing the race action there. Make sure you join Emma on our YouTube channel. From myself, Mark Payne, and from Emma, it's been great, but worse the action. We'll see you soon again. See you later. Bye.
Bye.